So I hope you guys will join me this well, it's morning for me. I know it's evening for many of you all. Hi, Miss Beverly, Mama Calloway. Hi, Mr. Tyrone. How are you? So I'm excited about this topic. I did a workshop on it a couple of weeks ago, and I really wanted to. Hey, Clyde. I'm so sorry to hear about Aunt Mary B. I hope you guys are okay. I'm praying for you all. What's up, Craig? I thought you was going to bed. Thanks for coming on. If you can't stay on, if you would, please share out this video. I think this one is like really good information that can help people out a lot. So please share if you can. From my understanding, your share button should be like right below the video. Excuse me. Hey, Flora. So I don't want to keep you guys on too long. I so appreciate everybody who's coming on. If you know me or see my videos, you know I try to keep it short. But this message tonight might go a little bit longer than normal, but I think it's so important that we talk about it because for me growing up, I didn't hear a lot about soul wounds. And then when I did, it would be so big and broad that I didn't really understand it. Thanks so much for making the sacrifice for me, Craig. So I'm going to just dive right in. What are soul wounds? First of all, let's talk about what is the soul. And for me, when I talk about the soul, I am talking about your will, which are your behaviors, your thoughts, and your emotions. And it's been my experience when I'm dealing with people that I'm coaching, I find that many of us don't give a lot of thought and attention to those three areas in our life. We just move through life, and many times we think like our thoughts and our behaviors are just our personality. We think that's just who we are. But what I want you to know and what I want to talk about tonight with these soul wounds is that many times we get wounded in those areas. We get wounded in our thought life, in our emotional life, and in our behavior life because of something that perhaps happened in our past. Many times as children, we experience traumas. And a lot of times we think of traumas as like abuse, sexual abuse, divorce. We think of the big traumas. We think of, the big worst things that happen. But what I want to share tonight, hey Aunt Murdis, is that, and Natasha, is that, and I hope I pronounced that right. What I want to share tonight is that there are different kinds of traumas. There are two that I'm going to talk about tonight, particularly. So it's the trauma of the bad thing that happened that shouldn't have ever happened. And that is the type of thing I was talking about with abuse. Perhaps if you was torn from your family or that kind of thing. And then there's the trauma of good things being withheld from you. And many times those are the traumas that most of us are suffering that cause the soul wound that we are not aware of. So we suffer this feeling like we're not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I can't accomplish what I want to. You struggle with self-esteem. You may, oftentimes, many people will turn to anger when they can't fully express themselves or understand why they feel the way they do. It's a soul wound. And the thing about wounds, just like everything else in life, it can be healed. But here's the thing, you got to acknowledge it. You have to be aware that this is part of your problem. This is what you're struggling with and that you're suffering through to deal with the soul wound. And one of the reasons I really want people to come into their awareness of their soul wound and to really heal from this area is because it's affecting our relationships. And it's showing up in like areas of our life that we don't even think about. It's possibly why we spend the money the way we do. So if you're trying to I was just listening to a sermon earlier by Joel Osteen, and he was talking about wearing name brands, right? So we wear other people's names because we don't understand the importance of our name. We don't get how loved and how great we are. So we're trying to fill that void of not feeling enough with, thanks for the love, with the outward appearance. So we want to have on the right name, carry the right bag, drive the right car, so that outwardly to other people we can look like we're good, we feel good about ourselves. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things. What I want to talk about, or what I want you to come into the awareness of, is why. Like, do you need it because you just want it and hey, I just like nice things? Because trust me, I like a nice bag. But like, are you doing it for the sake of I really like this bag, or is it so people can think I have this, and I, that I'm flossing, and you're doing it to fill a void from your soul wound. That's the area that you don't want to do. Craig, thanks so much for sharing out this video. So we want to talk about those soul wounds. What do they look like? How are they affecting your life? Let me know. Like, you guys type some questions as I'm talking, and also let me know, like, does this make sense to you? Or have you heard about soul wounds? Do you see it in your relationships and in your especially in our money? Like, we would do some, hey D, we would do some of the craziest things because of our money, trying to fill these soul wounds. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how some of these wounds are, like what some of these wounds are. But before I go into that, I just really want you to get a clear idea about the soul, that area in your life. Hey, Aunt Toadie. The area in your life that many times we don't deal with. We're not intentional about healing our thoughts. This morning I was sharing with the kids in our devotional time about the scripture about the seeds, like when Jesus was talking about the parable of the seeds. And so they was like, I don't understand when they talk about the devil come and snatch it away. So we can oftentimes hear a good word or hear a good thing, but because of our beliefs and our thoughts, we can't receive it. That's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about healing those things. Hey, Deacon Doja. We want to heal those areas so we can be aware. Maybe my thought life is messed up. Many of us get married with these really strange beliefs and thoughts about marriage. And it comes from this wound. So we have this wound where we're trying to find someone. Never heard of it. Oh, good. Craig, I'm glad you're here, because now you can hear about it and you can maybe teach what you learned. So the many times we get married, and we have this fairy tale belief about marriage. Oh, I'm a married person. They're going to complete me. They're going to make me whole. They make me feel good about myself in, the first stages of love. But marriage really comes in because, like, it's going to bump up all those wounds. I believe that marriage is the place that God uses. And I think it happens in other relationships too, but particularly marriage, because you're connected to a person who you're not blood related to, and you're in this together, and and many times you're 24/7 with them. But they come into your life and they bump up stuff that make you angry, frustrated all the time. And many times what we do, because we don't look at our own hurts and our own wounds, we think, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't act like this. If you didn't do that, I wouldn't be angry. If you didn't do that, I wouldn't feel like this. But really, that's not true. What's true is you're already hurt, you're already broken, you're already angry. And they're just bumping that up so that because God is saying, hey, I want to deal with that wound. I want to deal with that hurt. I want to deal with that part of you that think you're not good enough. I want to mess with that. I want you to know that I love you so much that that's an area in your life that you don't have to hide. And sometimes what we do with our soul wounds is we connect it to addictions. So we'll bail out with drugs, with alcohol, sex, pornography. You know what, guys? Sometimes we're addicted to people. You ever seen relationships where it's just toxic, and you go like, "Why are these two people staying together?" But they are just in it because they are so connected because of their wounds. And we can be connected to a person because of our hurt and not because of our love. So get that. Like, you think you're in love with someone, but what you're really doing is you're connected to them because of your hurt and because of your pain. And it's not love that's keeping you all together. It is hurt and it's pain that's keeping you together. And the way you can tell is, what is the relationship manifesting? That's something to think about. So what is the relationship manifesting? We should really, like, life isn't perfect. We weren't meant to be perfect. God made provisions for our imperfection. But he did create a place and a space for us to live with more peace and joy and kindness than chaos, craziness, outrageousness. Like, we don't have to live at that level. That does not have to be our norm. And many times we will think of that as normal and get comfortable in that because our wounds are causing the commotion, and it's making you you've lived with the wounds for so long, because if you picked them up if you was a kid, when you was a kid, you think this is your personality, you think this is who you are. It's not who you are. You was created in perfect love, so it's not who you are. So let me talk about what the wounds, oftentimes maybe the way you identify them. So one of the soul wounds, one of our deepest soul wounds, is the feeling of abandonment. Some of us have lived a life where perhaps our parents had to leave us early in life for whatever reason. But as a child, you can't process that. You can't process why my mom or my dad isn't here. And what you do in order to process or to try to deal with it, we bring all of that on ourselves. We say, oh, it must be because of me. I must not be loving enough. Oh my God, like if my mom doesn't love me, if my dad doesn't love me, no one is ever going to love me. I'm not, if they don't stick around for me, then who will? And from that place of abandonment, then the wound comes. And when we struggle with the issue like abandonment, what we do is when that wound shows up, one of the ways it shows up, we will often manifest. And when I say manifest, guys, what I mean is you will create the thing that you don't want. So if you struggle with being abandoned, and you're not dealing with it, and you're not honest with yourself about it, and you can't see it, right? Or you can't even identify it. You just know that there's this thing inside of you where you're thinking, they're not going to leave me. And what we'll do many times is we'll leave a good relationship or a decent relationship first, because you want to make sure you don't get abandoned. Has anyone had that experience? So say something in the comments so that I know you guys are there. Thanks so much for the likes and the hearts. But I need to know you're there, and I need to know you're getting this. So what we want to do is we want to be able to address these wounds. I think marriage has healed a lot. Yes. Oh my God. Marriage, when two people understand the real purpose of marriage and can see it for the grand, I don't want to call it event. What do we call marriage? Sacred. What God has created to be so sacred. When we see it for what it is so what God created for us to be healed. It is the healing bed. And I wish there was more teaching and more understanding of that, so people could stop running to the altar to get happy. Happiness, nowhere in Scripture, happiness is not the goal. The goal is holiness. And I don't mean holy, oh, I'm better than everyone else. I mean holiness in complete whole. There's no holes left in my soul, because I'm fully full with the Word of God. I'm full with who He is. I'm full in His presence. That is the purpose of marriage, that we can get full. But what we got to do, what you got to do in order to get full, right? You got to realize you're empty. And marriage is going to come and knock your socks off. It's going to let you know that you are a hot mess. And it's okay that you're a hot mess. The problem is we all a hot mess, but nobody wants to admit it. I'm sorry, I tickled myself. Because I was a hot mess, and I'm still a hot mess. But I'm good with that. Marriage is beautiful when it's understood correct. I'm good with being a hot mess because I get it. Now, and Andre knows I'm crazy and I'm a hot mess, and we just two crazy people together. And we've learned to love each other through our soul wounds. But what's beautiful is when you can acknowledge them. That's when our marriage changed. Our marriage changed when we both was honest about, one of the wounds is rejection. Rejection for me was a huge thing. I was always feeling because I felt like I wasn't enough, right? Whenever anything came on me where it felt like people wasn't really responding to me the way I thought they should, because we have these rules. Yes, I'm getting it, but maybe it's because of my age. Well, thanks. So guys, my friend Beverly, Miss Beverly Calloway, we call her Mama Calloway. I met her in the UAE. She's now living in Africa, and she is sharing out my messages around the world. So thank you so much, Mama Calloway, for being on. And I get it. Yeah, we do. We get these things when we get older, and I'm working so hard to try to teach the children and give them some wisdom. I know some things have to come by our experiences, but we can prepare. We can prepare our children with wisdom and knowledge so that they can make better choices, or at least, like I tell my children, I'm okay with you making a bad decision, but live in the awareness that you're making this decision and that life isn't just happening to you. So that is the goal, with understanding and connecting to these soul wounds. And so what I was saying earlier is, one soul wound is the wound of rejection. And I learned a long time ago, when you grow up in a house where your mother isn't available to you, whether sometimes our mothers are present, but they're not available emotionally, um, physically available, spiritually available to us, right? So mom working so hard, she doesn't have time to nurture you. When we live in a household and that type of have that experience, oftentimes we feel abandoned. But when it's our fathers who aren't there, who aren't emotionally available, we often feel rejected. So mothers, oftentimes, not all the time, create the feeling of abandonment. Fathers create the feeling of rejection. And I grew up in a single mom home, so guess what I dealt with? I dealt with a lot of rejection. But the biggest problem with that was I would reject people before they would reject me. And I was quick to like shut people off. Oh, I'm done. Cool. All right, I'm out. But that wasn't because of them. It was because of me. It was because of my hurt and pain. And so what we have to do is we have to get clear about, one, change your story. Like, am I really being rejected, or do I just feel like I'm being rejected? Because just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean it is a certain way. Another soul wound is shame. Shame is, oh my God, like so many of us have been hurt in the past and we carry around all this guilt and shame. And shame will just oftentimes make you produce more shame. And then what happens with shame is we keep so much stuff in and we hide, and we cover up our sins, and we cover up this. You know what's the worst to me is, we oftentimes in the church, we talk about confessing our sins, right? We confess what we've done. But what we got to learn to confess is the sin that was done to us. That's the worst. Like, that's the thing that is holding many of us in bondage, is because, okay, I've confessed that I was, a bad person. I did this. I made a poor decision. I'm cool with that. But then I'm holding in that someone did some really horrible things to me. And no one has created a space where I can come and tell you without me feeling like you either going to question me, doubt me, or make me feel like I was the bad person, because that was done to me. So that's what shame does. Shame keeps us in this darkness where we can't express out. And then we bring that. Shame is a big one for a lot of people. Yes, it is. And we have to learn to create spaces for people to say, listen, I get it. You were hurt. And maybe sometime when the anger shows up and people are mad with you, go, maybe they're hurting. And I know that's hard. That takes a big person to not go into defense mode and be like, well, I can't believe they did that to me. No, they're not doing it to you. They're doing it from a hurt place. The other soul wound is betrayal. How many of us have been betrayed? And many times, like in marriages, you hear about the word betrayal. But oftentimes, even in parent relationships, there's a betrayal. In siblings, there's a betrayal. Creating space. Yes, absolutely. I'm responding to a message. So it says creating the space is major. It is so imperative. It is. We have to learn how to do that. So we're talking about betrayal. Betrayal, this is what I've learned about betrayal. Because this is how it came up for me, and I teach you guys from my life experience. I had to deal with betrayal, not only just in my marriage, but in my friendships, because I had been betraying myself for so many years. I had lived, so I was taught, small wound, that as long as it looked good, it is good. Like, I ain't saying it was whether my mother or my father taught me that, because it's not about the blame game. But I was really taught that. I was taught that if it needs to look good. Doesn't matter that it's not good. And we're not going to talk about that it's not good. It just needs to look good. Well, when you live like that, you live in a level of betrayal, because it puts you in a place where you're not willing to say, yo, this ain't right. Like, I'm not comfortable. I'm not happy here. I just got to always keep on a smile and look. And so when you portray yourself, when you portray your own values, your own thoughts, when you're lowering yourself to make everybody else comfortable, or you're doing the thing that doesn't set well in your soul, because you need outwardly to look good, that's a level of betrayal. And life gives you back what you put out. People don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. You know, we say you reap what you sow, but we don't really get it. I can only I had to be portrayed so that it was like a mirror had to come and reflect back to me. This is what you're doing to yourself. So sometimes, guys, if you're in these really bad relationships, especially like, and I don't mean to be hard on women, but that's who I talk to. But a lot of times with women, we love being the victim. We really, he did this to me. He cheated on me. You know, ain't no good men. We the victim. You're not a victim. You may be a willing participant in the foolishness that's happening to you. And you have to admit that, because the only way you're going to change it, shift it, and make it better is that you have to admit it. That, wow, maybe I'm bringing some crazy to this. Maybe there's some stuff in me that keeps drawing these opportunities or these situations in my life. Now, I'm not saying all the bad things that happen to you is your fault. That's not what I'm offering you. What I'm saying is, when I shift, right, when I got to a place where I could see that a lot of the stuff was me, and then I start healing those places, now when I see crazy, like Yolanda Van Zandt says, when you see crazy across the street, when I can see it now, I can see like, oh, I have met people here, like immediately I'm like, she's the type of woman that we can be cool in public, high and by, but she got a whole lot of energy that doesn't set well with my soul. And the old me, sometime out of my need of not being rejected, I would have been comfortable. I would have just overlooked that and said, oh, it's okay, because, you know, because it can be lonely in Beijing. It's gotten better now, but when I first got here, it was really lonely. And had I shown up in just in the heart of my soul wounds, I would have let anyone in my space. Good night, Craig. Thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for sharing out. So Miss Beverly says that point about rejection will help help people on their jobs. Yes, that's what God taught me. They need to do what you said and ask the question. Yeah, was I rejected, or did it just feel that way? I spent years on my job. I'm a graphic designer. All they do all day long is critique my designs. And I spent years taking it personally, when it's really, they wasn't rejecting me. They was just saying this design is not what we're looking for. So you got to be honest about that. You have to get clear. But so I've talked about the different wounds: abandonment, rejection, shame, betrayal, and abuse. So abuse, you know, that one is pretty obvious. But many of us deal with sexual abuse that goes well, we don't talk about it. We hide it. We cover it up. Many people deal with physical abuse that, again, the shame. So there's no room to talk about it. And we talk about mental abuse, right? We're used to hearing people talk about verbal and mental abuse, but I want to talk about emotional abuse. Are you being emotionally abused? Have you gotten so used to being talked to in such a negative way, in such a condescending? Are you used to being called stupid? Like, did you grow up in a household? I hate when I'm watching Empire to hear that woman constantly call her son stupid. Like, that just irritates the crap out of me, because what we don't understand is, when we, as a mother, the words we speak to our children, we condition them to be used to those words. So if you're a mom calling your son or your daughter stupid, and then later years, they get in a relationship with a man or a woman who's constantly calling them stupid, don't be mad with that woman. You train them that is acceptable. You train them that when they hear people call them out their names, stupid, B, ho, all these things, if you're the mom and you're calling your child that, you're training them that this is acceptable, that these are names that you can respond to. We got to be careful. Like, we don't want to abuse our children like that mentally and emotionally, because then they're going to get into that cycle. This is why you got to deal with your soul wounds. You, especially as women, as adults, as the adult, we have to deal with our soul wounds so we don't pass that stuff to our children. And so that then we can help our children deal with their soul wounds. Wow, I was told that I am stuck at being the victim. Wow, yeah. And listen to your story. Think about this way, Nicole. If you was telling a story about a superhero, right? So let's say Spider-Man. If you're telling a Spider-Man story, are you Spider-Man in the story, or are you the person that need to be rescued by Spider-Man? Like because we get so conditioned to being a victim, we really think it's normal, and we really looking for someone to come swoop in and rescue us. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Like even when we become in a relationship with God, you will realize that God is only gonna do so much. We have to surrender. We have to believe in Him. You have to be an active participant in your healing, in your mentally emotional healing. So the last thing I want to talk about, because I said I don't want to keep you guys on long, and we've been on almost 30 minutes. How do you heal? How do you heal the soul wounds? The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna connect to God. Like you're gonna have to. You just have to. I know there are people, I have like a lot of some of my clients, people in China who don't believe in God, or maybe they're just not comfortable with the way we have put God in a box. And honestly, there are some people who I'm not comfortable with the way they put God in a box. But you have to connect to something higher than yourself. I call it God, and for me, God is through Jesus. But what I know, I don't think God is limited. So He will connect to you the way you connect to Him. He's a loving God. He wants to draw you to Him. So you have to connect to Him, to the source of love that is greater and higher than yourself. Let's do that. And when you do that, do it with the mindset that I'm connecting, asking to be shown and taught the areas in my life that needs healing. Okay, you can't just do it like I'm connecting to God so everything in my life can be okay. Who magically? No. I always tell my children, God does not do magic. He does miracles, and miracles oftentimes, read the Bible. When Jesus would heal people, He would say, "Now I've done this. Now you go do that." It requires your participation. Come on now. He put mud on the blind man's face. He didn't wash it off. He made the man go wash it off. You got to show up for your healing. God is not magical. He creates miracles. So you're going to heal by you're going to connect to God. Then two, you're going to acknowledge. You're going to acknowledge that all of your crazy, all of your arguing, all of your, when people are telling you things about yourself and you think they're attacking you, that maybe some of it is true. You just got to be honest. We got to start acknowledging that some of the stuff that people are telling us about us might just be true. You're like, maybe I am a little crazy. Maybe I am a little insecure. Maybe I do overanalyze things. Maybe I do. Maybe I do judge people. Like that's the one I used to always get. What am I going to say? Well, no, not me. We got to acknowledge, right? We got to acknowledge. And then when you acknowledge that the soul wound is there, you can start moving and going, how do I heal this soul wound? Once you acknowledge it, now you can say, do I feel abandoned or am I being abandoned? See, you get empowered. Then you can move from, for years I carried around this shame and guilt. Now I've shared it with someone. I've gotten it outside of myself. And it's no longer mine. I do not have to walk around in this shame. But if you don't acknowledge that you have it, and that is the problem it's the source of your problems, you're never going to change it. You're not going to heal from it. And then the last thing you guys got to do to heal from the wounds, I'm going to take my time with this one because this one will be hard for some of y'all. You got to forgive. You have to forgive. Goodness, this is confirmation. Well, good, D. I'm so glad you're being confirmed. You have to forgive. If you want to heal from your soul wounds, you have to forgive. Like, Kanisha, why you keep saying that? Because some of us, that scripture that says, I can do all things through Christ, but not forgive. But we gotta forgive. We gotta forgive the people that hurt us the most. But you know what, guys? We gotta forgive ourselves. Like we gotta let ourselves off the hook for the false beliefs and the false thoughts and the emotional wounds that told you weren't good enough, that you're not smart enough. You gotta forgive, and then you gotta move closer and take every day to choose to believe that you're worthy, that you're loved, that you are good enough, that you're amazing, that you can do all things, that you are, the gifts that are inside of you that are bubbling inside, that they can be lived out, that you have everything in you that you need to do that. That's what forgiveness will do to you. You shift your mindset. You go from being the victim in your life to being the hero in your own life. And guess what? The wonderful blessing is when you connect it to God, you ain't got to do it by yourself. But you got to do it now. Like, I can't sit in my house, pray and hope that God will bless me with a workshop. Lord, please let me do these workshops. And then I don't create a flyer, invite people to the workshop, go outside, find a location to have a workshop. Guys, I live in China. I I'm not sharing this to boast. I'm sharing this to tell you this is possible. I'm the chick who dealt with rejection. I constantly worried that people rejected me. The other night, I walked into a cafe and to ask this guy who speaks only Chinese and I only speak English, can I host an event in his location? This is where God comes in. I was bold enough to walk in, right? I go upstairs, see the place is beautiful. It's exactly what I need. But how am I going to convey this with this man? Because we don't speak the same language. So I come back downstairs and Andre's there with me and I was like, babe, I think there were some students upstairs that go to BCIS. That's the school he teaches in. Dre goes upstairs. He know these kids. So he gets one of the kids to come downstairs and translate for us. And I booked the place. That part is God. The part that I can't speak Chinese. But he had those kids there. And that night I went into the shop. That part is God. But I had to show up. I had to walk in the spot. That's what you got to do. You got to show up. You got to move. You know, the Bible says the works of your hands are blessed. What are your hands doing? Is that works for him to bless? So we got to move out of these soul wounds, guys, because the soul wounds tell us so many negative things about ourselves. It just have our mind blocked and have us in lockdown about what we cannot do. And when you start dealing with the soul wounds, you will start realizing that you were really fearfully and wonderfully made. Great is his works. And that you can do some amazing things while you're here on this earth. So guys, if you have any questions, please drop them in the box now, because otherwise I'm going to slow this thing down and let you guys go. I told you I try not to keep you long. I don't believe in a whole hour on video, because I like to talk to people. And so sometimes it feels like I'm talking to myself. So are there any questions? Unforgiveness is one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing cluttering our internal space. Yes, it certainly is. And I wish more people, people hear people say, the forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. People hear that, but they cannot receive that. They can't quite grasp that or wrap their heart and mind around that. But it really is. Forgiveness is for you. It frees you. You got to think of it this way. If a person abused you, hurt you, disrespected you in some kind of way, back in, so I was born in 70. So let's say in 1980, someone hurt me, right? So it's 2017 now. And they hurt me in 1980. And I didn't forgive them back then. And I'm bad with math. So that's like 30 years. If I don't forgive them, they still get to hurt me today. Don't know them, don't know where they are, maybe don't even remember their name. But if I do not forgive them, it's like they still get to be gripped to me today. Free yourself. Free yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean you're saying it's okay they did it. Forgiveness means you're saying, you know what, you did it, you hurt me, but you're no longer going to have control in my life. You got to forgive. I know it's hard. I do. I know it's hard. There have been people I had to forgive. I was like, but I'm going to tell you, if you guys really want to be set free, if you really want to be set free from the people that hurt you, this was going to be hard. I'm going to take a sip of water before I tell y'all this one, because it's going to be hard. So if you really want to be set free from the people that hurt you, and you really want to see the blessings of God on your life, start praying blessings for those people. It's in the scriptures. It's in the scriptures, and I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but when I saw it, and there's so many people that have decided they don't want to be in my life anymore, and it's okay. And I love them, and I pray good things for them. I pray good things for them. And I first started doing that because I teach about heart, blocking the heart, right? God taught me this thing where he talks about we block our heart. Thank you so much for the love. And when he taught me, he was like, your heart is being blocked. So I can't even send you new friends because your heart is so broken and blocked because of the people that hurt you. And when I started praying for these new, for my old friends, God bless them. Give them everything they're asking for that aligns with you. Free their hearts, free their minds. When I start praying those wonderful things for them, all the stuff I needed starts showing up in my life. So forgive, pray blessings. I hope this message has blessed someone today. Guys, listen, if this has helped you at all, if you have a better understanding of soul wounds, please share this out. And I noticed some of the people that are on are from America, many of the people that are on from America. I'm coming home in June. If you guys want me to come to your church or your women's group, or if you want us to just create a workshop while I'm home, I get antsy, guys. And I'm going to tell you now, we have this amazing opportunity. I believe I'll be in Chicago for a little while this summer. And I think we're going to Boston. I can't be sure, but I think we're going to Boston. Or Massachusetts, somewhere. I don't know. I'll let you guys know for sure. But if you want me to come, reach out to me because I love what I teach. And I love seeing people being set free because of the information. So have a blessed night and go forth. Forgive. Set yourself free and acknowledge that you have some soul wounds that need to be healed. Have a good one. Bye-bye. So I hope you guys got that last bit. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Mm.